Hey guys, how's it going? So recently I broke the news that Michigan and Alabama would now have an exemption for NICS checks for permit holders. In Michigan it's called a CPL, in some states it's called a CCW. Let's just say your concealed carry permit. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Good to have you here. For those who've been around a long time, nice to have you back, and I enjoy reading all of your comments. If you have not seen that previous video, check the pinned comment where I tell you the new breaking news right away, as well as a deep dive. Now we're going to get on to some extra information concerning the NICS check bypass when you purchase or transfer a firearm through an FFL. So as many of you know, I was the first person to break this a couple days ago during the holiday weekend. And a lot of people came back and said, look, this is awesome news. And I agree, it is awesome news. Now, a lot of you said, look, my FFL is still running background checks. They don't know about it, whatever. So here's the additional info I have for you. And just like the previous video, we're going to cut right to the chase. And then for those of you that like to nerd out, we're going to go into more of a deep dive in the second half of the video. So I have in my hand right here, this is the new open letter from the U.S. Department of Justice, and this either has been sent to or will be received shortly by all of your FFLs, so they should be on the same page soon. Now, some of you would like to see the PDF of this and have a link to the new Brady permit updated chart. Also, check that pinned comment. I'm going to make a locals post before I publish this video. Locals is a different site, censorship free. You should already be following me there, but they have a way that I can upload a PDF as a post where we just can't do that on YouTube, and that PDF will be of this letter. Some of you might want to bring it in to show your local FFL. And again, there's no legal advice, and for any FFLs that are watching this, you receiving this from me might be different than receiving it from the ATF, but I will leave the PDF that's directly from the ATF on my on that locals post. Again, check that pinned comment there. So look, I do think this is awesome news that Michigan and now Alabama, and we're going to see this letter has other states where they're updating this NICS bypass or NICS exemption chart. Dude, I think this is awesome news, but I want to say this real quick. No, I don't believe that the Form 4473 is constitutional. I don't believe that we should have to have any type of carry permits. The Second Amendment says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So with that said, me not accepting the premise of any of this in our constitutional republic called the United States, where the Second Amendment is the supreme law of the land, period, end of story, we shouldn't have any of this. We shouldn't even have FFLs. However, yet here we are. So under the situation we find ourselves in, this is excellent news. And this is the letter that hopefully your gun shop already has or will be getting soon, so that you can take advantage of that NICS bypass. If you're a CPL holder in Michigan, you have your carry permit in Alabama. There's more. I'm going to get into this, but let's read the letter. This is dated May 23rd, 2025. For those of you, not many, but a few that doubted me and said, well, how can this be confirmed? Other YouTubers haven't reported on it. My FFL hasn't heard of it. Well, look, that's why you subscribe to this channel, because we often break news before anybody else, and we report on reliable sources here, and this stuff's all legit, and this is the letter. You can download a copy of it yourself on that locals post. Link is in the pinned comment. May 23rd, 2025, open letter to all federal firearms licensees. The purpose of this open letter is to advise all FFLs of updated guidance from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives that reminds you of your obligation under the Brady Violence Prevention Act, Brady Act, 18 U.S.C. Section 922T, when transferring a firearm to a person who is not an FFL. This guidance sets forth ATF's assessment of qualifying permits and is the agency's interpretation of NICS alternate permits under 18 U.S.C. Section 922T3. This open letter is intended to aid FFLs in determining whether to accept a state permits in compliance with federal law. The Brady Act generally requires FFLs to initiate a national instant criminal background check system, NICS, background check before transferring a firearm to a person who is not an FFL. However, The Brady Act contains exceptions to the NICS check requirement, including an exception for holders of certain state permits that authorize them to possess, carry, or acquire firearms. The law and implementing regulations provide that permits issued not more than 5 years prior to the firearm transfer date may qualify as alternatives to the NICS check if certain other requirements are satisfied. Most importantly, the laws of the state must provide that the authority issuing the permit to require to check available information, including conducting a NICS background check, and that the issuing authority may not issue a permit to anyone when the available information indicates the applicant is prohibited from possessing firearms under federal, state, and local law. Yeah, that's why it was ridiculous that all the CPL holders in Michigan, Alabama, other states, had to take these checks when we've already gone through more rigorous background checks to get that carry permit, right? Again, check the previous video if you don't know what I'm talking about. We went into all of this breaking news 2 days ago. ATF has recently conducted a review of the laws and regulations of all U.S. states and territories. The purpose was to determine whether relevant firearms-related permits meet the requirements of 18 U.S.C. Section 922T3 and whether FFLs may accept such permits in lieu of a NICS background check prior to transferring a firearm to a non-licensee. ATF has created a new chart. Link to that will be on that locals post. It's in the pinned comment here in this video and the description as well. Background check prior to transferring a firearm to a non-licensee. The ATF has created a new chart which reflects ATF's current assessment of all permits pursuant to this review. So they've done a new review and they're updated the chart. You guys might be surprised. Your state might be on this list. ATF will periodically review and update the chart, the most current versions of which is available at, and then they list a couple sites here, but it's just like a click-through hyperlink on here, but if you go to that locals post, you'll be able to have the PDF, and that link should be clickable for you if you want to look at the chart. FFL should refer to atf.gov for the most recent version when assessing a permit submitted for this purpose. The new chart includes updates or clarifications to the status of a state permit as a NICS background check alternative, meaning you can bypass it, right? In the following states: Alabama, California, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Missouri, Montana, Puerto Rico, Utah, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. When FFLs transfer a firearm to a non-licensee who presents a permit or license that qualifies for a NICS-exempt transfer, you must comply with the following requirements. Now keep in mind, this is a letter getting sent to all your FFLs. You guys are reading the same thing that your gun shop either has received or should shortly be receiving. Like, we have access to this stuff on this channel, I think, before pretty much your FFL's got it. That's probably why a lot of them are still running these background checks, even though you're a permit holder. But you guys are getting it first here. Have the transferee complete and sign a firearms transaction record, ATF Form 4473. 2. Verify the identity of the transferee through a government-issued photo identification. For example, a driver's license, and confirm that the transferee is the person to whom the permit was issued. 3. Verify the permit was issued or renewed not more than 5 years earlier by the state in which the transfer is to occur, and that the permit has not expired under state law. While certain permits include, quote, lifetime permits, may be valid under state law for more than 5 years, these only qualify as a NICS alternatives for 5 years from the date they were issued. It is the FFL's responsibility to verify the issuance on renewal date before treating the transaction as NICS exempt. FFL should conduct a NICS check whenever they are unable to confirm the validity of the permit or the issue date for permits that are valid for more than 5 years. Now, here's an interesting thing. Now, this is me on a little sidebar here, and we're almost done with the letter. Some people have said, well, I have a feeling that my FFL is just going to run it anyways. Here's my opinion on this. Not legal opinion, and I'm not telling how businesses should do their business, and state laws may vary. However, this lists certain reasons, though, that they should run a NICS check even if you have one of these qualifying permits. In my opinion, they shouldn't be running a NICS check just because they quote-unquote feel like it, or they're running a NICS check because the sky's blue or because water is wet. No, they actually say they should run a NICS check whenever they are unable to confirm the validity of the permit or the issue date for permits that are valid for more than 5 years. And I also talked about this. I'm going to just read this one paragraph and we'll get back to the letter from the Brady chart. And this is again from the ATF site. And here's what it says here. FFLs are not required to accept a qualifying alternative permit in lieu of a NICS background check if the FFL has reason to believe the permit is invalid, improperly issued, or otherwise does not meet the requirements of state or federal law. So state law too has to come into play, but the FFL should contact NICS before transferring the firearm. Now again, I'm just reading you what the government says. In my opinion, they should not be running a NICS check if you have a valid permit and they have no reason to believe that it was improperly issued. Now, some of this is still their personal opinion. I imagine they could say, your permit doesn't look right. Well, then I guess they can call NICS from what it says here. Or I don't know that it's... If they have some kind of question about the permit itself or the validity of it, how it was issued, the dates on it, sure, but that whole I'm just going to run it because I feel like it, in my opinion, from reading this, they shouldn't be running them for that. And it's up to you to decide who you want to do business with. If you believe they're doing unnecessary background checks on you, and you believe they're not, acting in pursuant to this, that's up for your personal opinion, or if you need legal advice, to contact a lawyer, right? But I just wanted to throw that out there because I have a feeling a lot of gun shops are just going to say, well, we're just going to run it anyways. You know what I mean? All federal firearms licensees. Let's see. Okay, we're on section 4. That was just the header on each page. All federal firearms licensees. I almost dropped that. Did you see that? Hold on a minute. I need a drink of my Blackout coffee. 20% off your first purchase. Code is down there in the description, and if you normally shop at Blackout, using my link will help the channel. Just saying. They don't pay me money to say that, but if you guys use my link or code, you're a financial sponsor, and it is good coffee. And maybe it'll keep me from dropping paperwork after a long days of work. 4. Either retain a copy of the transferee's permit and attach it to Form 4473, or record on the Form 4473 any identifying number from the permit, the date it was issued and the date it expires, consistent with 27 CFR Section 478.131. Yeah, we have too many gun control laws. They're all like 7 digits long, and all gun control is completely unconstitutional. I'll continue. The guidance set forth in this letter and the new chart on ATF.gov supersedes all previous ATF open letters on NICS alternate permits. So they might have a letter from, say, in Michigan 5 years ago, where I went into that deep dive in the previous video. That letter is no longer valid when it comes to this. This is the new guidance. And the new chart on ATF supersedes all previous ATF open letters on NICS alternate permits, including open letters as to whether a particular jurisdiction's firearms permit or permits qualify as an alternative to the NICS check. This is interpretive guidance and is not binding, nor does it have the force or effect of law. Yeah, that's the disclaimer they put in all of that. So they're telling these FFLs exactly what they have to do, but you can't bind them to it because they're the government. But let me tell you what, the government will sure bind us if we're not doing something right. They always have this disclaimer in these letters, and it's like, well, wait a minute now. This is interpretive guidance. It is not binding, nor does it have the force or effect of law. Well, don't run afoul of it, if you know what I mean. This guidance represents ATF's assessment of which state laws currently, in effect, satisfy the requirements set forth in federal law. So it's an assessment, not an interpretation. So you got to pay attention to these details, right? FFLs are ultimately responsible for complying with all federal, state, and local laws. So again, your local and state laws could come into play, especially depending what states you live in, right? So for keeping abreast of any future changes to those laws that may affect their legal obligations, FFLs are not required to accept a qualifying alternate permit in lieu of a NICS background check Now it's back to this again. If the FFO has reason to believe that the permit is invalid, improperly issued, or otherwise does not meet the requirements of state or federal law, the FFL should conduct a standard NICS background check before transferring the firearm. So I just wanted to repeat that again because I know there was comments about that whole thing before. Hey, you know, I mean, different gun shops are going to probably act different ways with this, if I had to guess. You know, just let me know what's going on. And if you guys are still taking background checks in Michigan, Alabama, let me know. I'm curious. That's if you have a valid permit or license. You know what I mean? Because if not, you're going to still have to take the background check. If you have any questions about the validity of an individual permit, please contact the agency that issued the permit. If, after reviewing the chart, you have a question as to whether a particular type of permit qualifies as an alternative to NICS, please contact the ATF, and there's an email address, and include your name and contact information. Digitally signed by Megan Bennett, 5/23 of 2025. Megan A. Bennett, Assistant Director, Enforcement Programs and Services, and then the attachments, the Brady permit chart. If you want to get the PDF of this letter, go to my locals post. It's going to be a free post for anybody. You can join my locals community free, or you can support for more perks. And check that out. I'm gonna pin that right to the top, and that will be posted by the time you see this video. Check the pinned comment and the description of the video as well. All right, well, that should cover almost everything. I'm just gonna go a couple more minutes here because we listed a bunch of states. So I think the two biggest for the most part changes were Michigan and Alabama. At least those were the two I found out right away, because GOA had been involved in litigation for years. We discussed all that in the previous video. But I'm just going to go through these states for any of you that might live in them, or you're just curious, or hey, maybe you guys are passing time while you're at work or driving and just want to sit and have a cup of coffee with me for a few more minutes. For everyone else, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe for more good up-to-date information like this, and good hanging out with y'all. All right, Alabama. Now, these are what's, when I say yes or no, this is whether a qualifying alternative to a NICS check, meaning you wouldn't have to do the NICS check if these qualify. Alabama, a concealed carry permit, yes. Concealed carry lifetime permit, yes. So yes is good here. All right, let's go down to California, because some of these are just clarifications, some are updates. All right, so California, there's a whole mess with this. It's California, man. Shout out to my friends in California. You guys know your state's a mess when it comes to this. And look, Michigan ain't that much better lately either, so keep up the good fight, Cali. All right, California, concealed carry licenses, no. Entertainment firearms permit, no. Bureau of Security and Investigative Services permit is no. Those are not NICS bypass. All right, let's go to the south here. Georgia. What's going on in Georgia? A weapons carry license is a yes, but a temporary renewal license is a no. All right, Indiana. All right, Indiana, the state to the southwest of Michigan here. Concealed carry handgun permit is a yes. So it sounds like Indiana might have drastically changed recently too. Wow. All right, now some of these, I don't know if they changed, but I'm reading from the official list, and this is the updated info. So you guys that live in those states, chime in. The great state of Kentucky, license to carry concealed deadly weapon. Wow, that's an impressive name. That would be a yes. All right, Michigan, which we've talked about before, but we'll read it again. License to purchase, carry, possess, or transport, yes. License to concealed carry, heck yes. Now, that's 5 years that we still had to take background checks, often resulting in long delays, such as myself. A friend of mine named Jane, who has a CPL, literally got denied over buying a shotgun with a CPL. And literally had to go through all this crap with the FBI, and she finally got her shotgun like months later. It was insane. Hopefully this stops people like my friend Jane and many of you from getting these delays and inaccurate denials. Obviously inaccurate. She still has a valid CPL. All right, Missouri. Now this is complicated. Let's go through this quick. Lifetime concealed carry permit, yes. Provisional lifetime concealed carry permit, no. Extended concealed carry permit, yes. Provisional extended concealed carry permit, no. Concealed carry permit, yes. Provisional concealed carry permit, no. Wow, that's a mouthful. Montana, you've got a list too. Individual license, no. Temporary restricted enhanced permit, 18 to 20-year-olds, yes. Enhanced concealed carry permit, yes. And concealed carry permit, yes. Puerto Rico, which they list, I guess it's a territory, right? Shout out to my viewers from Puerto Rico. Ooh, check this out. Firearms purchase and concealed carry license is a yes. Wow. In Puerto Rico. All right, Utah. Let's go out west again here. Concealed weapons permit, yes. Provisional concealed weapons permit, yes. Temporary permit to concealed carry, however, is no. All right, West Virginia. How do you guys say it there? Almost Heaven, West Virginia? It's a good song. Concealed handgun license, yes. Provisional concealed handgun license, no. All right, Wisconsin. Let's come back to the Midwest. Concealed carry, yes. Emergency license, no. So there you guys go. This is the letter. One more time, if you didn't see my previous video on this that kind of tells you how we got here, especially pertaining to the state of Michigan, with a little Alabama thrown in there, this new updated chart, I'll leave that link down in the pinned comment to the previous video. For those of you that would like to have the link to the chart itself, as well as an actual PDF that you can download and print yourself or pass on or do whatever with, I will have that in that locals post as well. That will also be linked down there in the pinned comment. And if you guys would like to help support the channel, make sure you check the links down below. Consider becoming a YouTube channel member. You can leave a super thanks, which is a message that you can leave that'll leave the channel a little cash. And also make sure, again, if it's not just for this ladder that you want to get to, but make sure you're also following me on Locals, because that's a censorship-free site where I do bonus content and make daily posts over there on cool stuff that a lot of you will probably want to know about. All right, well, don't know how many questions you'll have left, but if you do have any further questions or comments, or again, I'm kind of curious, let me know if you all are still being required to do the background checks, and we'll say Michigan or these other states with this updated guidance. But yeah, this is the receipts. You know, a few people are like, dude, do you have any proof of this? Well, yeah, of course I had proof of this, or I wouldn't have reported it, but I didn't want that video to be 40 minutes. So instead, this is a part 2. All right, I'll see you all again soon. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.